This was, I believe, about a year ago. One of the first, yeah, look how ugly it gets. One of the first spaces where, as I was exploring the woods, I'm up over a bluff. I've already climbed up top of a bluff face. Yeah, it's not as big as it sounds. But I came out here and I remember all the effort. And, once, your body starts exerting so far, certain other faculties, awarenesses might slip aside, kind of thing. But I get up here and I was explicitly struck with I'd guess it's probably the same spirit that captures the dog that's aware it can suddenly run free for a bit. And you watch just a 0 to 100 as the dog just bolts away in every direction at the same time. I came out here with the intent to explore, and the space that I had found just here had already been impressive enough for the sensation to be impressed as it was. But as such, I was too impressed to just simply sit still and ponder on and enjoy the gift of the sensation alone. I'm the kind of mutt. I will definitely keep snooping and keep sniffing and keep scrounging just for the spirit of it. There was some walking there. Definitely no people up here whittling away on stuff. There's a nice hint toward the view. I figured I'd pick a spot where it wouldn't be immediately betraying. I don't think this is an extension to somebody like Rainbolt to go ahead and find me, but there are some impressive talents in the world. For all the optics of how things are going wrong, some things just in their genuine expression are very impressive. It's a bad way to follow that up, like it's some kind of clinical definition or something, but I never said I was good with words. But I'm good with finding spaces that are really special. And maybe while I'm sharing in some of that beauty, I can share some insights at the same time. I don't see the world normal. Nobody does. That using that word already as a primer for a specific space of a conversation, but relative to the relative, I seem to have a sort of derivative perspective on some things. But it does lead to, if nothing at all, the mere wonderment to be driven to taste these sorts of things. If not something a little more at play, like being directed toward specific areas. The kind of magnetism, the sort of pull that can be experienced when, I guess to say, communion with nature is pursued. There's a religion to be laid out. Is maybe the only way to capture that. So what's to be said in this is that the subjective experience, just to be completely cliche, doesn't end at the five senses of electromagnetic, quote-unquote, tactile sensitivity. Besides, sight, sound, and taste and all that, there seems to definitely be a, do we call it an emergent substrate that these things come from? The clairvoyant interconnectivity between siblings or lovers. The sensation described earlier of a more individual geomantic nature to feel, I guess to say a little more than what could have already been said in Disney's Pocahontas, that the wind, the trees, they all have a voice. They definitely have something to say. And nobody's around to hear much anymore. Sometimes, to simplify it, when you stop making your own noise, you start to hear others. But that is not the end of the story. These things have continued on a very dependable pathway, method, to yield experiences like this time and time again. And the best answer I can come up with for learning how to experience something like this is to make sure you do not seek it explicitly. For all that was said in the last video about being a seeker, certain things seem to need to be released and submitted to so that receptivity can take place. And that goes a little further with a couple different semantic functions that were touched on in that last video, but there's a reconciliation that's required when you identify the inner control mechanisms, or I guess just metacognitively speaking, if you were just to stay prey to those and let them run on autopilot, you're not really at that level of self-mastery. And sometimes the mastery of the self is to completely dissolve the self. But it doesn't necessarily just have a cut and dry meaning when the words are simply strung together. The Zen koans are perhaps the closest I could find to a way to poetically envelop the capacity of the process. At any given point, anything in nature is effectively a standing wave between two poles. Now, obviously, a little bit of reductionism there, but in effect, when you go through the poetic nuance, you've got a pole, an anti-pole, and then the balance in the middle. And that kind of thing, again with the word play, but the word usage. I might do a series of these and get to join as I just disappear into the woods and find a cave and sit with it. It kind of defeats the purpose, because going into the cave is to seek the solitude and the quiet. Otherwise, the receptivity doesn't necessarily take place. Albeit you're in one of the safest and cleanest zones to do so, far away from radio frequencies. That's a massive plus. I found at least, I can count on, nope, it would take two hands to count how many different caves I've effectively found on my own just in the past 12 months. I'll catch some wind, somebody will suggest, oh, there's, you know, such and such space out there somewhere, you gotta find it. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the bounty of it. But you just kind of let go. You commune with the non-human people everywhere. I want to adapt that. Whether it's from YouTube neighbors or borrowed from such philosophers as Alfred North Whitehead. Communing with the field, with Mother, and releasing the science of identity in experience, I think, is the name of the game. I came across the wording earlier today. It was kind of poetic the way it all strung together, real clean and neat. But you've got the masculine aspect, the father aspect of expansion, of dictation, of cleaving, of, you know, separation, and that kind of, and then the feminine of reception and wholeness and that kind of. Between the two, where we've got the function of science as the masculine and the function of religion as the feminine, we are really begging for that synthesis, the Aeon of Horus, the child of these millennia-long endeavors that don't resolve into anything but their own self-consumptive cycles. And it's like, what's a guy walking around the hills recording videos of climbing into caves gonna be able to do to help that? But the other day, the past couple days, from just the point of observation I'm at my post, watching how the world or whatnot reacts to this sort of approach to things. This is peaceful, this is healing, this is slacking, it's unproductive, it just is. And I myself, back to those other complexes, I've enculturated myself very deeply with a sense of productivity being tied to worth. And it was allowed to root so far into me due to that kind of premise, the expectation of being an anti-entropy node, a source of custodianship, of something to leave behind, of futurehood that doesn't seem to want to be invested in anymore for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense. Ever since my childhood, I've watched as the science community has tried to release specifically, clearly motivated research papers to try to establish certain statements that literally are counter-harmonic to the essence of nature or reality. It's like, and don't want to get to specifics that could upset people, but like very cognitively, there's something abrasively wrong with trying to say that like self-destruction is genetic. Okay, so now we're blending religion and science in the wrong ways. This isn't going to get us anywhere pretty. Sitting here holding a phone, staring at a light while I'm making a bunch of noises with my mouth doesn't get very far either. It's not what I'm doing, it's what I'm minimizing my experience to be for some reason. I'm not sure why. I have these moments of counter lucidity as if it's some kind of reality check, some kind of survival mechanism. And I think that's actually honestly been the driving force itself behind the driving force on knowing that life is life is incorrectly presented to us. The fearlessness to keep making a choice that you feel for yourself is right and it is not harming yourself or anyone else especially. It's like I can definitely empathize with the fleeting sense of capacity to empower the self. Definitely understand that. I think depression is one of the veggies they stick on the lunch trays at schools nowadays to begin with, so you get your healthy dose of it nice and early on. Back to the thing about saying we don't need any more videos of people calling out the sky falling. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that'll be a little hidden footnote and everything. The hint at it all. Hey, everybody else, go find yourself a cave too. No. But yes, release. I said it in so many non-elegantly flowing ways before. I battle myself in just putting forth the effort to go somewhere that's literally nothing more than the energy of moving my legs, of having to breathe deeper to climb a hill, stuff like that. It's like, the adversary within the self is already big enough. Falling prey to the patterns of externalization or projection, further still, more worse. More worse or offer. Turning all the potential inward seems like a pretty decent response to things nowadays. Finding all of that self-centering, the healing, all these words that I've kind of I watched as sand slipping through my fingers for the longest time now. Things are starting to make a little bit of sense in a different way. And ironically, it's during a time when nothing's making any kind of sense. So that's kind of where the encouragement comes in. It's like, I'll be the first one I'll be the opponent to too many dangerous messages being propped up on soapbox loudspeakers nowadays. But it's like withholding my own light, my own angle toward a composite dream that we all share, we're trying to bring into this reality of this world. That's something that has no space for fear or a lack of confidence in it. I'm not gonna be the best, maybe never again, any more gooder with my words than I ever was. But the geometry, the measurement of the shapes of the thoughts that are conveyed. Words are very, very, very limiting containers. And anymore, especially nowadays, I think we're all waking up to the nightmare that it's all been weaponized. Sitting here like this, I can keep stringing these thoughts together forever. But the point of sharing a space like this and revealing that places like this can be found is to set the wrong precedent with videos like this. This is a space for quiet, for contemplation, for rewiring. And maybe the presentation's the wrong way in saying, hey, everybody go find your local caves. How proportionate would that be to a growing viewer base? Being able to share, at least through a screen and an array of pixels, a conveyance, a simulation of this experience for others. It's a gift I don't think about giving in a world that surely needs more gifts. I need to develop a better focus specifically. The feature of the videos can be finding these different liminal spaces in nature. Maybe in the end we can find a way to show others how to, what is this, douse for this kind of stuff? What word would we use for this? We just teach people to navigate their worlds differently. Once you can get a subconscious sense like that, perhaps other things will follow through in life and change vectors into an entire paradigm that we can honestly celebrate. That'd be pretty cool, right? I'm gonna stop talking now.